So we have the PowerPoint here. So dosha marigua marishima ishuya heads. In my own language of Hiradza, I said, hello relatives, my name is Eagle Woman. I'm from North Dakota, and this area that you can see in the purple is what is called my reservation in the United States. It is where the federal government put the Mandan, the Hiradza, and the Rikara tribes and told us where we would live. And this is where the fracking is occurring. This is called the Bakken Shale that you can see here. It is a very huge area that goes into Montana, North Dakota, and Canada. And what we started seeing was drilling rigs, as you can see here, all over, next to the roads, next to the waterways. This is a wheat field, it used to be a wheat field. Instead, now we see for sale, for lease, industrial zoned. North Dakota is the breadbasket of the country. We provide wheat, sunflowers, corn, canola. And now our fields are being taken over. We have a lot of farms in North Dakota. And this past year, people started calling me and asking me why their cattle were being born with deformities. The babies were being born deformed as a result of the cattle drinking the water. So when we posed this question to the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, they told us that in their study, cattle were outside of the study. Even though we eat the cattle, they were only looking at how humans were being impacted. This shows you a wheat field the size of 7 football fields where an oil spill occurred. Nothing is growing to this day, 2.5 years later, where any of that oil touched and spilled in this wheat field. And these kinds of spills happen on a daily basis. I think it's important to understand that in North Dakota, natural gas, which is being touted as this great clean form of energy, is actually a byproduct of the fracking industry. Every single day, enough gas to heat 500,000 homes is being flared. Right now, as we sit here, 500,000 homes could be heated, but instead that's being flared into the atmosphere. They're going after oil, and then this oil spills and kills. 5 years ago in my community, these buttes were crystal clear, and now today what you see is ozone and pollution from the volatile organic compounds. These companies get away with a lot, just in the states alone, just not being regulated, but on a reservation, they get away with even more. They drive right down our roads, and this is fracking water. They're just pouring it right onto the road. Nothing to stop them, nobody to regulate them. This is a picture of water that was taken out of our lake. If you see it on my computer, it's like the color of turquoise. And we were swimming in this water when we took this water out, and we took it to the North Dakota State Health Department, paid $200 out of our own pocket to have it tested. They told us, don't worry, it's just a blue-green algae bloom. I had no idea at the time what that meant, but it's toxic. You're not supposed to swim in it. It did kill fish. There were dead fish laying on the shore. This was a mile from our water intake plant where we took this water out. And now blue-green algae are common ever since 2007 when fracking started. Just to give you a sense, this is the Missouri River. Up in the top area there, is there a pointer? Up in the top area is my reservation, and you can see the lakes that were created. All of these lakes are dams that were created below reservation lands. Our reservation was flooded out, and that water, that toxic fracking water, gets into the lake and comes all the way down the Missouri River, all the way to the ocean. That's Lake Sakakawea in the background that I'm talking about. In the foreground, you can see with this colored area. Well, that's the frack water spill that happened in July of 2014. The largest spill to date that was reported in North Dakota. They tell us this is just salt water, this is just water, don't worry. That is what it looks like as a result of that water touching the ground and getting into that little stream there and getting out into our lake. There was a study that was done that showed that the levels of tellurium, arsenic, selenium, radioactive materials was way beyond what humans should be exposed to, and it's sitting still today exposed on the top of the land with no cleanup in sight. This is a close-up of that. If you go stand down there, anywhere that water touched, this is what it looks like now. You can see the soil is crystallized on the top. It's dead. Fracking is literally sterilizing the land with radioactive materials and heavy metals. This was a picture that was taken by National Geographic. They came and they did a whole thing on fracking, and you know, they ended with a woman talking about one of those tanks where they store oil, and she opened it and said, "Ah, it smells like the ocean." Oh. They didn't have one quote from our community members. It took them around our reservation for a whole week, and this is the picture that was on the cover, a beautification of fracking. There's nothing beautiful about it. How many of you have been to North Dakota? Raise your hands. Oh, I'm surprised. Some of you have, okay. We don't have a lot of cities in North Dakota, mostly small towns. So when you look at the city of Minneapolis and Sioux Falls and Bismarck, those are cities, those are lights. Where you see where it says Bakken, this is an image from space, those are flares. That's fire, that's natural gas being burned into the atmosphere as a byproduct of the industry. This is another picture of the United States with a view from space. That is North Dakota. Flaring, those are fires. It looks like a war zone where I come from. So companies put up signs that say, danger, poisonous gas. So I'm standing there taking the picture going, but I can only hold my breath for so long. We're breathing this in and our children are getting sick. Cancers, asthmas, all these different things are on the rise and have increased over these past several years. We have a lot of semi-traffic as a result of having to haul the oil or the water or the fracked water. And in 2008, my friend Cassie was unfortunately on the road when one of those semis ran into her and killed her. She was 23 years old. And ever since that first semi took her life, we've had over 40 people in our community die just from the truck traffic alone. We have women that, as a result of the industry coming in, have been falling victim to the social impacts. When you have fracking, they tell you, here's money, here's thousands of dollars. So people get these checks, and they cash these checks, and they spend it on things that are good for them. Things that have come into our community as a result of fracking, like heroin. Heroin is something we never had before. And my friend Ashley here didn't know how to deal with it, and she died this past year. And my friend Lisa died this past year. She spent 3 days in the hospital while her internal organs shut down. Because there's no system in place for all this stuff that came. Thousands of people came to North Dakota, thousands of oil men working on the rigs, thousands of forms of drugs and organized crime. Lisa left behind 5 children. This is what the frack sock looks like. They put these on the trucks to filter the water. When they do that, they become radioactive because they're digging down so deep that they're bringing up naturally occurring radioactive materials. A 5-year-old child was the one that found this and was playing with it. So we used a Geiger counter and we measured how much the radioactivity was, and a human being should be exposed only to a maximum of 5 picocuries. A Geiger counter can measure 1,000 picocuries. This one was off the charts. A 5-year-old was playing with it. And so we did our own grassroots campaign and started putting up signs all over, letting people know that these are dangerous things. They're supposed to be put in some special landfill somewhere, as if that's any better. But these are just dumped in the ditches on the reservation. They tell North Dakotans, you should be happy. Look at all these jobs fracking is bringing you. You should be happy for all the jobs. Well, we had 10,125 jobs created in 1 year. The population of North Dakota increased by 11,000 people that year. The jobs aren't going to us. It's going to all these people that are coming in and living there temporarily for the industry and building man camps. They're literally living out in these FEMA trailers and RV trailers, thousands upon thousands of men. The violence against the women and our rape has gone up by 167%. There was a child, a 4-year-old child, that was found walking away, running away naked after having been sexually abused from one of these man camps. We have to watch out for our children. We can't walk around. This is a community of 1,500 people where we used to leave our doors open. You know, we used to borrow sugar from our neighbors. The worst thing that used to happen was when I was little, around Halloween time, we used to go egging. We used to throw eggs at our teachers' houses. I'm sorry for any teachers. We used to be the dangerous part, and now we're dealing with this in our communities. Man camps everywhere. And they're just welcomed in by our own tribal government. They brought them in, they said, come on, we were sold out by our tribal government. They signed contracts and said, it's in the best interest of the people. The federal government, in fact, rubber-stamped the authority for these companies to come onto our lands, saying that it was in the best interest of the people. So we sued the federal government, $400 million for a breach of trust of their fiduciary responsibilities, and we lost. Indeed, we've lost in tribal court. We've lost several times. But this is the message that these men have left us on our dumpsters in our communities. After we welcomed them in and said, yeah, come and have a job here. This is what they tell us as natives living there on that land. This is what we read in the headlines now. Small local newspapers talk about murder, talk about the madness of lost loved ones that have literally been murdered, stabbed, shot, disappeared. We used to think these kinds of things only were happening on TV and movies. And it's happening right in our backyard as a result of fracking. But we don't just stand around and do nothing about it. We organize in our communities and we get together and we take the power back because nobody's going to do it for us. We have to empower our communities to say no more. We're going to stop fracking by nonviolent direct actions, by making our voices heard, indeed by coming to Paris and telling you why you don't want fracking in your community. We put out signs to show the truckers that we don't want them here. We don't want all these semi-drivers. We organize summits and bring people from all over. This was 33 states came to North Dakota to see the oil tankers that have become bombs that have been blowing up all over the country. From oil that comes from my community. All the death and destruction in my community literally goes down the rail and kills other communities. It has to stop. It's madness. It's crazy. We have an addiction to oil in the United States, and we don't even need it. There's an excess of oil. They don't know what to do with it. It's on barges in the ocean. It's in storage tanks in Oklahoma. They tell us, oh, reduce our dependence on foreign oil. It's a lie. It's all about money and power. And we have to remember our brothers and sisters in South America. Look at the numbers. If we have that much oil in North America and they have that much in South America, what's going to happen? What's happening to our folks in the South? And so, the reason I do what I do is to protect future generations. We need to speak up for the 7 generations, those molded to go down the road that can't even speak for themselves. We have to be a voice for the future. Water is life. Fracking kills water. Fracking kills life. It is no coincidence that as women and as mothers we carry our babies in water. And so I share this really personal moment with me, with you. This is seconds after my daughter Ayana was born 2 years ago. It really puts it into perspective about how water truly is life and how we have future power shifters coming down the line. And we're going to teach them the right way.
In your teachings of your indigenous peoples, I'm familiar that your indigenous nations are very close to the spirit of the land in reference to the fracking and what's going on. How does that violate not only this Universal Declaration on the Rights of Mother Earth, but how does that violate your people's own cosmovision, your own relationship to the sacred?
Thank you, Tom. We have something, it's called blood memory. We have, we're tied to the land. We're connected to the land culturally. Like our stories, our cultural stories, our songs, they're based upon what we see in the horizon. We can make a song based upon the hills ebbing and flowing, for example. And whenever the earth herself is dug into and raped and pillaged, we physically feel it within our own bodies. We feel that destruction and that pain. It's killing our culture. It's literally taking our thousands of years of history and culture and destroying it, in addition to the environmental impacts and the social impacts. It's destroying our culture and our lives. We're water people. We always lived along the water for thousands of years. And when you look at the inherent rights of Mother Earth, it's being destructive. The entire system is out of balance. And people are just walking around lost. Some people have money, for sure. And money is being given a lot of power. And money is causing a lot of destruction. Because some people have it, some people don't. Some people can move away and just pretend that it's not happening. They can move away from the pollution. That's dividing our clans. It's dividing our people. I don't know if I answered your question, but that's what is certainly happening at home.